Hi guys, I'm Garen,
I'm JD.
and this is Investigating Comic Club, where we chronologically read, review, discuss, and rate specific crucial stories of the medium.
Indeed, and we hope that you guys will subscribe to become Misfit members of Comic Club yourselves. Share your own opinions of the story in the comments below. Stick around until after our conversation for our episodic comic quality poll, as well as after the Misfit Picture Shows logo, for any potential bloopers that the episode could provide. Mr. Garen,
Yes.
good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you.
You survived the Asian beetle.
I did survive that. I did.
Good.
That's a crowd pleaser. I want you all to know I'm alive and well. I actually had to move to another location, into a fish house.
They
So
drove you out.
yeah, they drove me out. They won.
Oh.
Yeah.
Next
But
time. Hey,
next time. Yeah. Next time. I'm figuring out how to be better than they are.
They won't stand a chance, buddy.
Nope.
They won't stand a chance.
Nope.
Totally have faith in you.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight we are working on Watchmen, issue 1, the groundbreaking original mini-series, 12 issues, and now is mostly read as a lovely collection by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, 1986. It was one of Time magazine's top 100 books of all time. Not comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the BBC later said that it was the moment that comic books grew up.
Wow.
I don't agree with either of those.
I can see all of that.
But it's really cool. You know, it's great.
I can see it being a grown-up now. It's a grown-up. It's a Watchman. But then again, it's like sometimes...
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Garen,
yes,
you have subscribed to DC streaming service?
Yes.
And you and I have a collection of 12 episodes we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
No, 24 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
One for each issue of Watchmen, and then one for certain origin kind of esque stories set in the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
Is Watchmen available on DC streaming?
DC streaming, it is not.
It's what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a bust.
It is a bust.
Okay. Well, tell them how you're reading it.
I'm reading it because I'm reading it. Dun 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 dun! Just came in. Woo! Look at
that
this.
Is,
and actually, this was the right there.
And that's the deluxe edition. Is that correct?
This is the deluxe edition, which I'm so glad I got. Even just starting it out a little, just the first few pages of excerpts and stuff, and it has under the hood a little bit of that in there, and so it's really nice.
That's really cool. Yeah, I am also reading the deluxe edition. It's dirt cheap on Amazon, right? Like you got
it is
Uber discount.
Yeah, I think it was really cheap.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in reading along with us, I would highly recommend that purchase. You're trapped inside. Treat yourself, and you can find good prices of it online. And I do have the original series in single issues, but it feels correct in your hands. It's got nice, the paper, the weight.
Yeah.
It is just a really lovely thing, and will never go out of style on your bookshelf. You'll always be happy to have a copy of it.
Damn. Boom.
Man, pretty lovely. So this was released in 1986, as you have noticed from the first issue. Spoilers. Read the first issue. We're going to be doing it issue by issue, every episode that we do on that specific issue There will be spoilers. I've read the
Mm-hmm.
entire thing before. Garen has not. So there will be no
Not.
spoilers for future issues in every episode. But as Garen, you know from just after one issue, it takes place in 1986 when it was released, but it's clearly an alternate 1986.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A different world history. Something different has happened. I don't know if it can completely been revealed for you yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been completely revealed, but it is a different time. But it is. I love the art, getting you right in there and getting you to feel. You know, like you can, even without the words, which the words and the dialogue is already strong and lets you understand where this is all coming from. But then you have this like darkness to it and the shadings and you have this, because where are they technically at in this
They're
in
in New York in 1986, but it's an alternate history, 1986. But the colorist, he's using more moody colors and the like the alternate spectrum that are usually like not the primary colors, but the like secondary colors.
Gotcha.
Like color palette is all secondary, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a deliberate choice of making it, because not only is it a different history, alternate reality, it's also the creator's kind of alternate take on superheroes.
Yeah.
So like superheroes, you know, they're called like 4-color funny books. This is like they're using, whereas those are the primary colors, these are the secondary colors. That was a deliberate choice on their part to like separate it from the other things that are out there.
Gotcha.
You might not have noticed here, but the kind of idea of the cover image also works as the first panel to every issue.
The first panel. Oh, gotcha.
So that's like a close-up of the first panel. You go into
that makes sense.
panel,
Yeah.
And that's
that's cool.
Yeah, that's something that continues every issue.
Gotcha.
And that's another deliberate choice on theirs, that, okay, we want to have very distinct covers, but we also want those covers to be the first panel of the issue.
That's really cool.
It is cool. Yeah.
And again, I didn't really know anything going in. I did watch the series.
The new HBO series?
New HBO series, which was just, I loved it. It was well done, even with me having no idea what was going on. You know, like as far as like backstory to anything, you know, like going into it just like, who are these? Okay, cool. Like it was well enough for me to still every episode go, okay, I have no idea what's going on. But it kind of like Twin Peaks for me, is where I was just like, I have no idea what's going on, but it's good enough for me to keep going into the next episode.
Cool. Well, you and I are both big fans of Lost.
Yeah.
And unlike many of the other fans of Lost, we actually our fandom of Lost continued, and we both enjoyed that final episode.
Yeah.
Damon Lindelof obviously created or was the showrunner and head writer of the HBO series Watchmen.
Yeah.
And Watchmen, he has said the only reason that Lost had flashbacks that was told out of order was because of Watchmen. Like him and his dad read Watchmen growing up, and Watchmen is like the biggest influence on his life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. This is a little off subject, but Lost, Jack's dad dies.
Yeah.
That was very autobiographical for Damon Lindelof. And he has said Like his favorite memory sharing with his father is reading Watchmen.
Well, yeah. I mean, it shows even more. I mean, I wrote that down even for this, the first few pages of how it went back and forth between the detectives in the apartment and then showing the flashbacks of what actually happened
Right.
with just how that you were able to already tell, oh, those panels in red were this flashback kind of experience.
Correct.
And then you have them here, and then you see them walking. And I'm all like picturing it like, wow, that played out in my head just like it would in a TV show or movie. But I'm like seeing it on, it was so storyboarded, which makes perfect sense. But it's like, oh, but this being done back in 1980s and just like how well that was done.
Choreographed, kind of.
Yeah, choreographed. Yeah. For you not to really get, you could have easily gotten lost if they had done it just a little differently. Like it was just the detail of, they were panel by panel, and we're like, wait a second. Oh, it's two different things. Oh, that's what it is. And it's, I even wrote that down as far as the panel showing what happened, and what they're seeing, the blood coloring.
Yeah, they call it a 9-panel grid, which means the majority of the pages are made up of 9 panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And Dave Gibbons, the artist, pitched that to Alan Moore. He said, I want to do these 9 panels. Sometimes I'll make these 2 panels together for a larger panel when it's called for, or whatever. But this is kind of the foundation that we'll pick off of. And Alan Moore actually, he accepted that, and he was excited and inspired by it because he could see the potential of like how he could control the pacing so well like that. If the reader gets into this mood of like, 9 panels, that's kind of the norm. When you switch it, you're really controlling. Like it's a real manipulation because you get the reader into this formula.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And it's also a lot of...
It is really cool, yeah.
For the artist to do that. Like nowadays you get 5 panels a page, maybe. Putting 9 panels of work per page, and each panel is there's a lot of
detailed and
there's a lot to look at within every panel. Like I love the first 3 panels, like the button, the smiley face with some blood on it, interrupting the like flow of blood from the street, somebody washing the blood down with a hose, and this guy walks through it with the end is nigh sign, all as Rorschach's voiceover going over top of it. Those are 3 panels, and it's just it's pretty extraordinary.
And
to open it up.
I did like how, in a way, we get the same point of view that we start with as we end with.
You're totally right. Yep.
That bird's eye view.
Yeah, that is not. Yeah, keep your eye open for that stuff. That is not by chance.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's awesome that you caught that. I think Rorschach, he's insane. The shit that he's talking, like it's absolute insanity. It's like blasphemous. It's repulsive. It's thought-provoking. And it's also kind of charmingly amusing, like all at the same time. And for it to start off,
he repeats himself so much.
Yeah, I love that. That's pretty iconic. Him saying, "You guys will all look up at us and scream, 'Help us!' and I will look down and whisper."
Yeah.
It gives me a lot of goosebumps.
I was even more because of like the first the before the comic in this deluxe edition, how it has that opening
The forward,
excerpt, the forward,
mm-hmm.
and it just mentions how what you call it, how the writer
Mm-hmm.
Alan, is that
Alan Moore,
Alan Moore, how he was so inspired by Bob Dylan, and then that whole, and how that even ends this issue with that with a quote from that song, and then so as I'm listening to or reading this issue, I was listening to Bob Dylan in the background.
Were you really? You put it on?
I was listening to. I put on that song, which that song is 11 minutes long.
Cheers, Graham. Good one.
Yeah. I was like, so I put that on in the background. I was like, oh wow, this is really, and I've heard Bob Dylan before and stuff, and I've heard, it's great, but like, kind of knowing that that's where this came from, it was for the writer, and then you sit there and you listen to the background. It's almost a perfect soundtrack for this.
Awesome.
Even with it not being like this, like crazy, what you think of as this like dark, gloomy place. No, it's like just this music in the background that's chill, but still every line says something that has to do with society and everything, where it's like, so it was cool to listen to that in the background.
That's really cool. Alan Moore, he's an interesting guy. Alan Moore was pretty vocal about him wanting to be fairly, it's political, this book. There's no around it. But he wanted the story, whether it's political or not, the telling of it to be apolitical. He didn't want to like foist any particular viewpoint. Like the story itself doesn't have a viewpoint. You just read it, and like the audience, you could think one thing and I could think another thing about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who's my favorite character? Which character I agree with.
Yeah.
Like Rorschach is going through it, talking about those crazy, useless liberals, and like, clearly the night owl, the second night owl, although they have a camaraderie, they certainly don't seem to share the same opinions. So that's I think that is an important thing.
No, and I agree with that mindset. Where I think I would have had my own viewpoints on the issue, reading it, and liked it, and probably gotten on that same boat. But reading this forward, even for it to end being like, look, we had all these ideas of what we could get. This is what we're putting together in these 12 issues. And just again, like Bob Dylan's song, Gates of Eden, at dawn, my love comes to me and tells me of her dreams with no attempts to shovel a glimpse into the ditch of what each one means. Mm-hmm. So just kind of exactly what you just said, as far as you're going to have all these viewpoints and all these things, but we really want you to, you might be mad because you're not going to get answers, or you might be mad, like,
Yeah, they were very much about, okay, the story and the plot, it's like the MacGuffin. And it's actually, that's very similar to Lost as well. Like, what's the smoke monster? What does this mean? What does that mean? That's the MacGuffin. And sometimes it matters. It depends on what type of storyteller you are. For these guys, it's about the journey and it's about the characters. And even at the end, the editor, I'm not going to spoil the ending at all, but the editor near insisted that Alan Moore change the ending. And Alan Moore refused, and it ended up this editor quit because Alan Moore wouldn't change the ending. And Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons both were like, it's not about the ending. It's about this journey that these characters are taking. It doesn't matter that this ending is this way or that way. Like, which I think is great. You start off in this issue, and somebody is murdered. wow, how is this possible? This guy's a big guy. And then you peel another layer of the onion. He's revealed to be a very well-known superhero. Later on, another onion is peeled. You hear maybe he tried to rape that young woman's mom.
Yeah, that
Like
was
all of
crazy.
these, like these details, like there's not a line that's thrown away.
Mm-mm.
And it feels actually a lot like Twin Peaks with Laura Palmer. Like, there's this inciting murder. Oh, he's a superhero called the Comedian. Just like Laura was the prom queen. He's not very funny.
Yeah.
You know, like, what's going on.
Yeah.
There's something more here. And I think that's fascinating. And I think they were saying, I think it's just so, there's so many things that they did right. Such a simple thing by calling a superhero the Comedian.
Yeah.
You immediately have your thought about what that superhero probably is, even though his costume kind of conflicts with it. What's that Uzi? What's that Uzi doing in a superhero's closet?
Yeah.
You know, it's there's a lot of interesting stuff there.
No, I enjoyed, and it flowed very nicely. It flowed for like, you did feel like you were a detective on the case, kind of wondering what was the next page was going to be, who we were going to find out, what we're jumping around, what new characters we're going to learn about.
Lots of characters. Lots of characters.
Lots of characters. And even sometimes they didn't fully hit them on the head with even their names, you know? You kind of had to go back or had to jump the next scene mentioned, oh, I saw so-and-so in the last scene. And you're like, oh, so that's who that was. But it was still, you were still connected.
I think, unlike an issue of, say, X-Men, where we're angry and frustrated that Hickman isn't establishing certain things, because this is a finite story, you accept it more. You're like, they're telling at their own pace. And when this is important information, they will tell me it.
Yeah.
Kind of trusting that because it is a finite story.
Yeah.
Within the humor, like it's very odd humor. Like when the guy is, hey, you guys going down, like the two cops and the elevator guy, and he's like, all right, bottom floor coming up, and then it switches to the panel of the comedian going out the window. Fall to his death. Bottom floor coming up. It's just like, this is it's all like inappropriate humor.
Yeah, no, it lines. It's very well told for inappropriate, but still, it's like humor to keep you going with how serious the situation is, which then makes it comical, but still sets the stakes of what everything is happening.
Yeah, I think a really good example of Rorschach as his character, but also this series in general, Rorschach eating the beans out of the can. There's something kind of gross about it, and it's like jagged and like, well, don't cut yourself. Do you want me to warm those up? Fine, like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh, it's disgusting, but funny, and like, what? You can't look away. It's such a train wreck. You know?
Yeah. And it jumps around with, and it's funny because I mean, I've seen the series, so I'm not really questioning, but I'm like seeing this person in, you know, not showing his face. Like I don't know what this person not showing.
Rorschach, yeah.
Just not, just like, I'm just in it, you know. You're like, hey, okay, he doesn't show his face. that's how that goes.
Right.
But it does show the history of. There's been multiple versions of these.
Of a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Night Owl. He's talking to, it's the young Night Owl and the older Night Owl. The older Night Owl is the one that has written the book. and the excerpts at the end.
Gotcha. Yep.
And then there's the woman who's Dr. Manhattan's wife. Her mom
Yep.
was the woman that supposedly the comedian may or may not have tried to rape.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I did like the reveal of Dr. Manhattan. Like that initial turn of the page.
Yeah.
Full panel.
Yeah. Splash page.
Splash page, yep.
Yeah, they tried. It's funny because a lot of people, it's difficult not to see, oh, Rorschach, there's Batman. Dr. Manhattan, that's probably Superman. Those type of things. I think Alan Moore, he wanted to use well-known characters, potentially even Superman and Batman, but DC didn't really let them. Even there's another line of characters that DC owned called the Charlton Heroes. I'm not sure, like Captain Atom and Blue Beetle. There are these characters that he was like, that. Okay, well, how about them? And they were like, no, why don't you create your own characters?
Gotcha.
And I guess in some initial talks between Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, did you ever read Mad Magazine?
Yeah.
Do you remember Super Duper Man? So Alan Moore literally said he wanted to take Super Duper Man and go 180 degrees. And what would that be like if he was in the real world?
I don't even know how to even
That was like the spark.
That's probably why they were like, no, we don't want you there.
That was the first spark.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, Moore. Please.
No, what were you saying with Moore?
Oh, I was just going to say that he deliberately wanted to make people uneasy.
Gotcha. No, and this was a very easy page turner. Like, honestly, I wanted to keep going to the second issue. Like, I was like, no, I was like, okay, I'll just wait till after we do this and then I'll go and I'll read, but I was, especially with it, just that pullback, because I was very uneasy about the guy who she was having dinner with at the very end.
Oh, the second Night Owl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
what were your thoughts on
and then
him?
for just, I mean, I don't know, just uneasy about it. Like, he was, again, I mean, I'm sure more people know about the comedian dying, but was it him who said the comedian is dead at the end? Was that him say that? So for him to be the one who calls it, and says it, was just a little, it's like, okay, wait, how did you know? Or like,
well, he was the same character that Rorschach went and saw, and then they went into
that's right. So, but for them to then bring it up at the very, it was almost one of those where it's like, oh yeah, we're laughing about the same thing. And with this happening, and then I feel like it would have been more of like a them both look at each other and go, how did you know? How did you know? Oh, you knew? Like one of those moments.
Yeah, they both knew. Yeah, they both know.
They both knew.
Yeah.
So, but then for it to end that way, just being like the whole, laughing it off and enjoying each other's company, and then being like, oh, we forgot. So,
well, the story there, I think, is really funny. They're reminiscing about silly old supervillains. And she says there's that one supervillain that used to like being beaten up and would try to beat them up and then get them to beat him up because he kind of got off on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, punish me. He's like, no, stop it. Go away. And then she's like, well, whatever happened to him? And he's like, oh, he tried that with Rorschach and he dropped him down an elevator shaft.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's terrible. That's not appropriate. We shouldn't be laughing. And then
what is the actual symbol of the happy face?
That was a badge that the comedian was wearing on his house coat when he was thrown out the window. Like if you go
And
back,
then how did the Night Owl get it?
Rorschach picked it up from
Rorschach gave it to him.
the sidewalk, and then gave it to him when they were when he was eating the beans. That's why he was like, "Oh, is this bean juice?"
Gotcha.
He's like, "Yeah, human bean juice."
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There you go.
But that's
there
a little
you go.
detail that
Yeah.
you need to go back and look at that first or the second page where you see the comedian. Oh, yeah, there's the little smiley face that was on his
Yeah.
bathrobe or whatever.
Yeah, that initial. Yeah, when he's getting beat up and you see that on him. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's very much it's one that you can easily go back and read and pick something else up, because it is like a detective. Like it's like, oh, what did I miss? I read the line. Oh, I see pictures. Okay, now here's did you notice that she had whatchamacallit, or she threw that thing away, or you know?
Yeah, no, Alan Moore deliberately, both Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore said, we want to fiercely make a comic book that this couldn't exist in another medium. That even Alan Moore said, Dave Gibbons put things in the background that Alan Moore didn't even know about. Dave Gibbons was drawing little things that Alan Moore said it wasn't until the 6th time I read it that I even noticed that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're reading that in a hard copy format, because on the digital, like, it's so much easier for you to flip back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do that. I think that that's an important thing with this story to be able to do.
Yeah. So on the actual issue, for you having the single copies, they don't have the under the hood portion?
They do. Yeah.
Okay.
Every single issue has, I think for the first 3 or 4, there's under the hood excerpts.
Gotcha.
But then that stops and there's other things. Every issue ends with some type of supplemental more story.
Gotcha.
They mentioned something called the Keene Act. The Keene Act?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
of 1977. You don't know really what that is. It just seems like...
Was that when they stopped allowing superheroes?
Yeah, something happened there with some type of police strike, they said.
They didn't want... what are they called? What are they superheroes?
Did they call them masked
that are
men?
going against the... They didn't call...
Was it Mystery Men?
I read at the beginning. I think it was Minutemen. Mystery Men.
Well, Minutemen was the original group from the 60s. The Watchmen are the second generation of heroes. Uh-oh. Karen, did I lose you?
No, I'm right here.
Oh, hi.
I mean, you did lose me, but I'm here. No, I don't know if they called them Mystery Men or Minutemen.
The Minutemen was the original superhero team. The Watchmen.
That's right. Okay. That's right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I do remember where they said that, but I do know it was Mystery Men. What were they saying it at? I don't know. I'm going to reread even this first issue again, but going into more detail now, just going into detail and then going to the second issue, because I was even reading it, I was like, oh, this is, and probably put on some Bob Dylan, and stuff like that. And, where is the mask? Yeah, I'm sure there's much more detail on there that you can, and being able to flip back and forth between it and everything. And
yeah, how did you read? How was reading the Under the Hood stuff for you?
Me with all that excess stuff that I know it's meant for a reason, especially for me here. I'm like, what do I need to remember? I need a Spark Notes version of this just to know what is needed. But it was good. I mean, luckily it was only 5 pages. Probably read as much in those 5 pages as I did in this entire comic book. But
yeah, it was pretty much just the only thing that you really needed to read from that was that the original Night Owl, he saw a kid in 1938 reading the first issue of Action Comics. And he took it from the kid, and he was that's the first appearance of Superman. And just Superman inspired him to remember his early childhood fantasies. And then the very first mystery man that showed up was Hooded Justice. And that he was determined to become the second superhero. That's how it kind of ended. So we don't know much about Hooded Justice or anything like that, but we did hear his name once. But we've got that's about, I think that's kind of the girth of it.
Yeah, that's the girth of it. Yeah, I think we talked it, we started it up to let everybody know kind of what we're doing here. Got on the page of like, I'm excited, I hope other people are too. I mean, yeah, when something isn't in a bestsellers list, you don't really, I don't know if you get a grading for a comic book quality scale.
I give it an A, actually. I give it an A.
But I do give it an A as far as just because I was looking forward to reading. I was like, that's kind of why tonight when we go, let's record this. I'm like, yeah, let's record this because I want to read the second issue. So I move on to the next, because I easily kept reading a little more, but I'm like, no, I want to stick to only knowing what we've already are going over.
This shutdown, our lockdown isn't going to end anytime soon. So let's take our time and
keep something with it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Last thing that I would say was that I enjoyed this time more than I have ever when I've read it in the past. I've always thought it's a great story, but it's never been one of my favorites. It wouldn't be something I'd pick up and read because it's not really my cup of tea. But I certainly enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I had a great time.
I would probably second that just because I didn't know what to expect. I had opened it up a few times on your shelves and just seen some stuff. I was just like, it looks cool. It's all more so like, oh, you haven't watched Watchmen. Oh, it's now a
right.
show. Oh, all this, bestseller list. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. But it wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to read it. And then when we decided a few months ago, like, let's jump in, because I was like, oh, it's perfect. You have Watchmen, and then you have Doomsday Clock, and then you have this that leads into things. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then gave me something to look into. And then so reading the first issue of this, I was like, oh wow, okay, yeah. And I don't know if it's again this time that we're in right now, but like this mystery, it's this investigation meets this griminess, but also superheroes and superheroes, supernatural, unknown. And then you're just it's an escape. So
that's really cool. I'm glad because you even surprised me when we were deciding what we were going to do after the Dawn of X.
Yeah.
We had talked about Watchmen because the series was on.
Yeah.
But you were actually more adamant about like, let's do Watchmen. And I was like, oh, sure. Okay. Yep. I'm surprised. But I'm really happy that you chose it because I'm enjoying it as well. I hope that you guys will get a copy or read again if you've already read it. And
read along with us, comment below. I want to know what you guys think of the first issue, chapter 1. And follow along with us.
Yeah, share your thoughts. We're looking forward to hearing it.
To be continued.